The rain had been falling since dawn, thin and cold like needles. When she stepped through the glass doors of the restaurant with empty hands and a heart already heavy with shame. Her shoes were worn through at the soles, her coat too thin for winter, and every step felt like a risk she could no longer afford. She did not come for comfort or luxury. She came because her daughter had not eaten since the night before, and hunger has a sound that never lets a mother sleep. What she did not know was that somewhere above the polished floors and glowing lights, someone with the power to change everything was watching quietly, unseen, and waiting to see what kind of people stood behind those counters. Before the story continues, take a moment. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet power of doing the right thing when no one is forcing you to, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your small action helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. Her name was Lena, and life had not always been this small or this desperate. There was a time when she had a steady job, a warm kitchen, and a daughter who laughed without fear. That time ended the night her husband's heart failed on a factory floor, leaving behind unpaid bills, a broken apartment heater, and a silence that screamed louder than grief. Lena learned quickly that loss does not come alone. It brings friends like debt, exhaustion, and a constant fear that love will not be enough to protect a child from the world. She had tried everything before walking into that restaurant. She cleaned offices at night until her hands cracked. She stood in lines that wrapped around buildings for assistance that barely covered rent. She skipped meals so her daughter could eat, telling her stories about grown-ups needing less food, turning sacrifice into a bedtime tale. But that morning, there was nothing left in the cupboard but a half cup of rice and a bottle of water. Her daughter, Mia, was 5 years old, small for her age, with eyes too serious and a voice that asked quiet questions. When Mia said she felt dizzy, Lena felt something inside her break. The restaurant was warm, filled with the smell of fresh bread and fried food, the kind that makes hunger sharper instead of easing it. Lena stood near the entrance for a moment, gathering courage like someone about to step into deep water. She did not plan to beg. She planned to ask if there was any leftover food, anything that would be thrown away at the end of the day. She rehearsed the words in her mind, careful and respectful, because dignity was the last thing she still owned. The manager noticed her immediately. He was a man who wore his authority like armor, crisp and polished, his confidence sharpened by years of being obeyed. He saw her clothes, her posture, the way she clutched her bag as if it might disappear. Before she could even finish her request, his expression changed. He did not shout, he did not curse. He smiled in a way that cut deeper than anger. He made her feel small without raising his voice, questioning why people like her thought they could walk into places like this. He spoke of rules, of appearances, of how giving food to one person would open the door to many more. The customers nearby pretended not to hear, eyes fixed on menus and phones, because discomfort is easier to ignore than injustice. Lena felt her face burn. She nodded again and again, apologizing for existing, for asking, for hoping. Her hands trembled as she thanked him for his time, even as her chest tightened with humiliation. She turned to leave, fighting tears, because crying would mean she had truly lost control. What she could not see was the camera mounted discreetly near the ceiling, and the man watching the live feed from a quiet office upstairs. The CEO had not planned to observe the lunch rush that day. He had come in early, troubled by reports of declining morale and rising complaints. He believed that the true culture of a company revealed itself not in meetings, but in moments when no one thought they were being evaluated. When Lena walked in, something about her posture caught his attention. When the manager responded the way he did, the CEO leaned forward, his jaw tightening. The CEO had grown up poor himself, raised by a mother who cleaned hotel rooms and taught him that hunger leaves scars long after the stomach is full. He recognized the look in Lena's eyes. It was the look of someone choosing humility over pride for the sake of a child. As he watched, he saw not just a single failure of compassion, but a reflection of what happens when power forgets responsibility. Downstairs, Lena stepped back into the rain, the cold now mixing with tears she could no longer hold. She walked slowly, each step heavier than the last, calculating how she might stretch the rice, wondering if she could borrow without sinking deeper into debt. She did not know that her small, painful moment had already set something much larger in motion. The CEO did not rush. He did not storm downstairs in anger. Instead, he watched carefully as the manager returned to his duties, laughing with staff, the incident already erased from his mind. The CEO noted everything, the ease with which cruelty had slipped into routine, the absence of anyone stepping in. He closed the feed, took a breath, and stood up, carrying with him the weight of a decision that would ripple outward. When Lena reached her apartment, she found Mia asleep on the couch, a blanket pulled up to her chin. Lena knelt beside her, brushing hair from her daughter's forehead, whispering promises she prayed she could keep. She boiled the rice, adding extra water to make it seem like more, telling herself that tomorrow would somehow be better, because it had to be. The next day, Lena returned to her cleaning job, exhaustion pressing down on her shoulders. She moved through offices that gleamed with success, empty of people, but full of evidence of abundance. She emptied trash cans filled with untouched lunches, half-eaten sandwiches, coffee cups still warm. Each discarded bite felt like a quiet cruelty of its own. That afternoon, an envelope slipped under her apartment door. There was no return address, just her name written carefully. Inside was a note informing her that she had been invited to a meeting regarding potential employment, along with a transportation voucher and a time. Lena's first reaction was suspicion. Opportunities did not usually arrive without cost. But something about the simplicity of the message felt different. She decided to go, if only because hope, once sparked, is hard to extinguish. The building she entered the next day was the same restaurant, but she was guided past the dining area, past curious glances, into an office upstairs. The CEO was there, though she did not know his title at first. He listened as she spoke, not interrupting, not rushing her. She told her story without embellishment, because truth had become her only language. She spoke of Mia, of loss, of hunger, of the moment she had walked into the restaurant and walked out feeling invisible. The CEO did not offer pity. He offered respect. He explained that he had seen everything. He told her that the company had failed her and that failure mattered. He spoke about responsibility, not as charity, but as accountability. Lena sat frozen, disbelief mixing with cautious relief. What followed was not a miracle, but something steadier and more powerful. The manager was removed from his position, not quietly, but with clear explanation to the staff about why compassion was not optional. Policies were changed, training implemented, and a program established to donate unsold food to families in need. Lena was offered a job, one with fair hours, benefits, and dignity, not as a symbol, but as a person with skills and worth. When Lena told Mia that night that things were changing, Mia smiled in a way Lena had not seen in months. It was small, but it was real. They ate together without counting bites. Lena felt something inside her loosen, a knot she had carried for too long. Months passed. Lena grew into her role, her confidence returning piece by piece. She volunteered with the food program on her days off, remembering what it felt like to stand on the other side of need. The restaurant became a place where warmth meant more than temperature, where kindness was practiced even when it was inconvenient. The CEO continued to watch, not just through cameras, but through the stories people told. He knew that leadership was not about being seen, but about seeing others. If this story has touched your heart even a little, if it reminded you that compassion can change lives in ways we may never fully understand, please take a moment now to like this video, share it, and subscribe. Your engagement helps spread these stories of humanity and hope to people who might need them today. And just before this story ends, I ask you one more thing. Please comment below with a single word that describes how this story made you feel. Your words matter, and they create a space where empathy grows. Lena sometimes still walked past that restaurant on rainy mornings, remembering the woman she had been when she first stepped inside. She no longer felt shame. She felt strength. She knew now that even in moments when the world seems cruel and closed, there are eyes watching, hearts willing to act, and futures waiting to change because someone chose to care.